You stayed with us. I love it.
Listen, I knew there was more. I was like, I need to. I was not cutting you off, but I knew. I was like, we need her.
I was like, okay, what were the comments? What were the questions? What were they? I was so excited to turn and read it, but let me tell you, Reverend Adjuna, girl, you broke it down. You broke it down. And I don't mean any disrespect by saying girl. You know how that's
No. It's all good.
And I love your sister locks that are growing in.
Yeah, they're coming in. That's a slow start.
There. Reverend Juju, can I tell you how much I love your hair? Can I tell you that?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So
it's the beginning of locks.
So for anyone who hasn't had a chance to see this amazing show that we just finished, we had an opportunity to be blessed on so many levels. So listen, if you didn't see it, make sure you go back, watch the replay, share, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, do all the things that you need to do to make sure. That's right, because this is powerful information. So we talked about how COVID has affected online worship, how to pivot, and things that have been really. How are we going to continue to feed? Yeah, literally, literally and figuratively, right? Yes. So thank you, Reverend Juju, for coming back.
Thank you.
Because I have so much more I wanted to talk to you about.
I know. I love how transparent you were to acknowledge what you as a leader have learned and how you need to have the revelation of how you got to serve differently. That just blessed my socks off.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because we tend to think it's just about like the institution of religion. Like how was religion really across the board, because all houses of worship got shut down. It wasn't just the church, and it wasn't just the Black church.
That's right.
If you was a Buddhist and had a little prayer room, you got shut down. And so everybody had to, and this is something that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but like pastors, leaders, spiritual leaders, faith, whatever, priests, prophets, all of them, we all had to ask the question, like, who am I now that all the things have been taken away? Like the altar is gone, the pulpit is gone, the audience is gone, the mic is gone, the sound is gone, the praise and worship team, and we lean heavy on those things. You know, the prayer rug. I mean, like, you know, or not necessarily a prayer rug, but the prayer rug with a bunch of the people praying at the same time. Like all that is gone. So what does that mean for me as a leader? Like, am I still spiritually? Like, you had to ask us, like, am I still a pastor? Because I ain't got a church. And half my people is watching me at 8:30, Jamal at 8:35, John Hannah at 9. I mean, you know, they're everywhere. And so, like people, you had to really ask yourself, like, am I still a pastor? Am I still am I still those? And so you had to redefine what that looked like.
Right. And that's so good. That's so good.
Because I had
what everybody had to do, right?
Everybody.
I mean, like, you think about in this pandemic, everybody was shifting from like, am I my job? Am I my title? Am I my education? Am I my this? And and this was the real opportunity for everybody to transform. This was it, because we've never had this time in I know in my lifetime to be able to transform the way you did. So thank you. That was we always think pastors are like, you know, we put up I'm not gonna lie, we put them up here.
We became very human. We became very human because especially, and I feel bad, but I know a lot of pastors who really struggled. Like, what does it mean now that I don't have an audience telling me preach, pastor? And so I know pastors who struggle to preach to cameras because it's like you get so connected to the thing that when the thing no longer exists, you have to you question who you are. And if you don't know, and this is for members too, because some people thought their relationship with God was them going to church every Sunday. But once that was taken away, once you couldn't pull up to a church, I had members who were like, am I still saved? Like, I'm not sure, because so much of their journey and their walk was connected to the thing. And when the thing is gone, who am I? What am I? And so it was a lot of that. And I think people are still trying. That's why when you ask the question, are many coming back? No, because some people found out they're not actually, they don't believe what they thought they believed.
Reverend Juju.
All right now.
Some people probably were like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Maybe I don't believe like I thought I believed. Because
I'd love to ask you a question. I'm so sorry, but I don't want to miss this one. You sound like such a strong woman, a focused woman. How did you tell us about what you saw and heard other persons go through? How did you get through this time to reach to this place where you're not just doing church differently, but you also became an entrepreneur? I mean, or you know what I mean? You started a business. What happened with you?
I mean, so a couple of things I'll say. I was raised by a grandmother who was like Jesus all the way. And she stopped going to church many years before she passed away. So my faith was rooted in a grandmother whose prayer room was the living room the couch. You know, literally, I have very clear memories of walking in the house and she's on the couch praying. And she was a TBN believer. Like she, you know, so I was clear you could have a relationship with community, God, Jesus, salvation, and never go to church, because my grandmother stopped going to church long before she transitioned. So that's one thing. So I early in the pandemic, I actually had a dream. My grandmother came to me in a dream and gave me some encouragement about the season. And I don't want to talk about it because if I'll get emotional, but she came to me and she gave me some instructions. And one of her instructions, I will share this, was stand up. Like in this season, stand up. So that helped me. But also, and Jewel knows this, I faced the hardest time in my life in 2018.
Yes.
When my son died, when he was murdered, I should say. And so it don't get no darker than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so my faith got redefined when I watched my son die. Does that make sense? Yes. So when the pandemic came, for lack of term, it just wasn't that bad. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't that bad. Because I've seen hell.
Right, bring it on.
You know, and I knew if God saw me through that and I hadn't lost my mind, the pandemic, and then I'm an introvert by nature. So being indoors wasn't hard for me. Being away from people wasn't hard. But just the faith piece was God. And I tell people this a few times. Like I talked about this throughout the pandemic to people. Like I'm so grateful is a hard word, but I can appreciate that I had the experience with my son in 2018 and not in 2020. Because I may not be the same person, but God allowed me to be prepared for his tragic loss. My faith had to be redefined in that. And so when the pandemic hit, I was already very clear that there wasn't nothing God couldn't see me through. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you so much. That's so encouraging. Thank you so much.
And I think when people ask me the same,
and Jewel knows, because she was one of the ones that walked by my side through that.
Yes.
And that's why sometimes when people say, "Oh, you seem to be doing fine," and I said, "The pandemic is not worrying me," because, like you said, Reverend Juma, I've been through the worst.
Yeah.
So it's like what this is, and then I think about our ancestors,
right?
What they went through,
right.
So my level of gratitude and awareness that we are wired to be amazing, resilient people, and that my faith was put to the test. But what I want to talk to you about, Reverend Najuma, is when you said the weight of grief, because when we see all these shootings, I'm grateful that you're connecting the dots, that because people have been shut down and isolated with no care, no social connection, and they were already on the edge. Now they're coming out and they are dysfunctional.
And a lot of these mass shootings we're just not hearing about because, you know, they can't report all of them, right? And they're not going to report all of them. But if you Google it, if you look it up, it's been almost 600, if not more, just in the first 6 months of this new year. Because you open, you know, people there wasn't no movie, there wasn't no law groups, so people were suspended. But then they had 12, almost 14 months for their anxiety to be built up, and now you say go outside, folks just not ready. So it's not just the mass shootings that are up, hate crimes are up,
yes,
cancer death is up, people dying from heart attacks and strokes who should have never died because you have all this suspended grief, and now they said, now go on outside, play. But I've been inside, not going to the doctor. I've been inside, not seeing my therapist. I've been inside, not communicating with people, not having touch. And then you tell me to go outside.
And then they always talk about, you know, we don't have a mental health problem in this country.
Listen,
like that if it was there before and it was
it's magnified now. And I mean, they just did a report here in Los Angeles for those that may be watching from outside of California on Venice Beach and how the mental health crises down there and the homelessness. So we're in trouble and nobody wants to say it. Yes. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. And they just did a report. I don't know. I think I was watching MSNBC about, to your point about mental health and the opioids, like that's shot up because people are this suspended grief. And it's not just the grief of death. Like that's one of it. But it's the job loss, it's the time loss, it's the relationship loss. It's married couples who didn't even know they hated each other until they were out the doors.
Yes.
Divorce rates are up, sexual abuse, domestic violence, all of it's up because people are dealing with all this grief, and so part of our role as the church. Let me bring it back to the church because that's what this show is about. The part of our role as a church is to be there in all the ways we can, even this platform, to really minister to people's hearts, minds, soul, spirit, and bodies, because we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
And if we try to go back to business as usual, we will see unprecedented numbers in violence and things that we've not seen in a long time. And we're already starting to see it. Violence is up in all major cities. There's an uptick in violence. So, and I don't mean to be doom and gloom. It's a reality that this grief is coming down. And as people of God, we got to be prayerful and be ready to be positioned in whatever way God calls all of us to minister to people and to really be available to minister to people. And this is a platform. The Blend is a platform of ministry.
And what I'm hearing you say is that it's not just the doom and gloom. You're not just trying to discourage people. You're saying those were your motivators to push forward, to find a way to make it work, because you knew you couldn't just leave things the way they were. I mean, obviously, if God knew this was coming, he has a way. And all you needed to do was to tap into what way is it, because it has to happen.
Yeah. And that's why I ended earlier with the question. It's not about just what's the church going to do. God, what do you want me to do? Like, how do you want me to show up differently in this season?
And like you said, this is permanent. And so I would imagine leaders like yourself have to tap into the giftings within your congregation. Who are the social workers? Who are the therapists? Who are domestic violence advocates? Who are, the nurses? Who are the doctors? Who are, we got to really, it's not just about the leader. It's about tapping into the leaders that are already in your congregation, because they're casting a net in the community so that we can not only catch them for the Lord, but catch them for their survival.
Absolutely.
We want them to live and survive and thrive.
Yeah, we want to thrive after this. We don't want to, we don't want to, I mean, woe be unto us. And I said this jokingly, but I meant it. Woe be unto us, you survive a pandemic, then you die of stress. Come on. Come on. It just don't make it make sense. No. I gotta thrive after this. I survived a pandemic, but die of no, I gotta thrive.
And the key is thrive. It's like, because again, if we looked at this opportunity, because I tell people all the time, I test my stress all the time. I'm a naturopathic doctor, just so you know. So I test my stress. I test everybody's stress. And this was the first time in 12 years that my numbers were normal, right? That my stress levels they normalized because I was able to take the time to pull back, to not give so much, but to give strategically. And I stayed open the whole time. Like, I'm also an acupuncturist, because all of those people were like, I need support. And so I was like, okay, I can still give, not push myself, be safe, do all the things. But and there was a shift that happened that said, you know something, you are called to do this. You have to go out and do this, because these people need more. They need more now. They don't need less, right? And so to that whole concept of how we could become so much more, take away the distraction, because like the TV and all the other things, they're there, but they're always there to distract us, to stop us from doing, our work, right?
The work, right.
Yeah, I know. And I love when you talked about the televangelist, and
we had to repent. All us pastors that was like, oh, TBN, we all had to repent, because we all became televangelists by late March. We were all televangelists.
What were you hearing amongst your peers about the giving? Did they see a decline?
So here's the thing about the giving. There was great panic about the giving.
I bet.
And great panic for a couple of reasons. One, because a lot of churches were not fully set up electronically. So they had to scammer to get set up. But if you were already we were already set up electronically. And then those who were able to set up quickly, giving did not necessarily go down. But here's what happened, because even though giving did go down, but it also went up in spaces where you had people outside of your congregation, outside of state, outside the country even. Giving, right? And then so giving balanced, but here's what happened. Expenses went down. Mortgages gone, rent gone, all the teams gone. And so and then the country did what it was supposed to do as far as giving people PPP and all that kind of stuff. So that boosted some income. So there was great panic in the beginning, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with giving? But once people really got up and running with giving, I know we're not going back to, we have like 2 members that actually give with checks and cash, but everybody else is electronic. So you just have to really take time to onboard everybody to the electronic process. And people like it because they get to keep track of their records. It's easier. Nobody has to have a checkbook or cash, and then you can do it. I have literally seen us get notifications like in the middle of the night on a Wednesday. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Or somebody getting a midnight revelation. They didn't get their class. I don't know, but like, so they can give when it's convenient. So it was fear at first, Ms. Jewel, but once I think a lot of the pastors got, like, I had to help there's a big church in LA. I actually had to help their treasury team get onboarded electronically, because they're a big church. So they were comfortable with cash and check on Sunday morning. Well, when the pandemic hit, the pastor himself, he had to have and actually, sadly, it took him almost a month to say yes to Givelify and Cash App and all these other things. It took him a month. So that first month, they lost a lot. I'm sure they built it back up, but the pastor had to have a reframing of his mindset, and a lot did. But those of us that already were in that mindset of electronic giving and using digital platforms, it wasn't that hard, and we saw an uptick.
What was the response of your congregation to going online and maybe staying there for a long time?
I think initially everybody wanted to go back quickly, because you think it's supposed to be a certain way, but then once you figure it out, like, well, this ain't so bad after all. like I had people like the first few weeks, they're like, when are we going back? What can we should do this, that. I was like, just relax. Let's see what's gonna happen, because I'm not trying to get sick. I don't want you sick. Just relax.
Right.
And then maybe a few months in, they were like, no rush. And so now, and that's so I think people, and I'm gonna say something else that somebody said that I totally support 100%. So initially, I think everybody was afraid. Again, it's about being attached to the thing. What happens if I don't have the thing? And because in our lifetime, we've always had the thing, to be told that I ain't got the thing no more. It's like, and then you figure out, it's kind of like when you go in the pool and you don't know 3 feet is really 3 feet. So you panic. And then you're like, it's only 3 feet. I'm okay. It was that kind of response. So even I have people now, they're like, yeah, I'm going to just be a virtual member. Virtual member. And I'm good. Because some people figured out that they're okay with being a virtual member. And then we actually, to your point, we took in members. I got members out of state now. I got a member out of the country.
Yes.
Yeah. And they give and they support. And so I think, so that's why many people aren't coming back, not because church is invaluable. They have just figured out, I can do this thing without the thing called the building, or without the thing called traffic, or without the thing called getting dressed in my Sunday best. And when I want that, the thing will be there and I can go to it. So some of my members, they're like, yeah, virtual member, sign me up, and then some people still want the personal. So we do in person and we do virtual. Yeah. But I think a lot of people have figured out they can have a very solid relationship with God, with their spiritual practices, and even with their community. Because remember, church is the people. So as long as I'm still engaging people, I still have my community. I can do that without actually going to a building on Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings or Saturday night, whatever time they're worshiping. Some people are okay with it. Yeah.
I was so happy when you said that once a month you're going to dedicate it to actual hands-on service.
Yeah.
I had left churches because I said, when are we going to go outside of this church and really touch people and really help people? That was one of my...
And it was one of the things that I found out for our members and a lot of churches. Like, people were very willing to come outside, masked up and all, gloves, to deliver food, to help with transportation, to pick people up, to take people to their appointments, to drop stuff off, to give out clothes. And so for me, when we thought about, okay, when we return, I don't want to lose that fervor. Let's maintain that. So one Sunday service is going to be service. Yeah, we're going to continue that because people really did respond to that well. And a lot of churches saw that. A number of churches, their members came out in large numbers to be of service. And I think it's one of those things, Ms. Jewel, like, you just kind of figure out the value of humanity. Like, once we get detached from the things, like people really do matter. We kind of lost that as a nation. And I think that's one of the lessons God taught us in this is like, humanity actually matters. People actually matter. So let's get back to taking care of people. Yeah.
This is so good.
And listen, the blenders are getting it. They're getting it. Churches beyond the walls. Teach. Powerful conversation. This is so much good. Opinions are are great, especially for people who are unable to travel. Right? These options are the difference in church due to health issues, transportation issues, etc. And that's the powerful thing. It's like, we keep forgetting that, and I believe as the US, we were behind. We were behind. We were trying to hold on to everything the way it was, and so when this pandemic hit us, we didn't rally and respond the way we should have. But technology has been a mainstay for decades, right? And so it's so nice. I mean, unfortunately, it took a pandemic to make us, move in. But we are making and taking the steps.
I have members.
Are they being left behind?
Yeah, I have members who had never done Facebook who are now, not only are they on Facebook, they're DMing me messages on Facebook. y'all all on this thing, you know. So, and I'm talking about my senior members. I'm talking about senior members. Yeah. And they're sending me DMs that they're like, Pastor, da, 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 da. So it's just, so there's some upsides, right? And here's the last thing I'm gonna say now, and I know we have to get out of here. And this is I was talking to a pastor, and one of the things he said, and I think, and because what else is also on the rise, let me lead in this way, is self-care. Mm-hmm. Self-care is on the rise, right? Mm-hmm. This is why this show is so timely now, because self-care is on the rise. And it's on the rise because people also figured out they didn't realize how tired they were.
That's it.
You have folk who didn't know they were exhausted. Mm-hmm. And they were literally living on fumes until they had to sit down somewhere. And then when they sat down, they never got up for months. I know people said, I just slept.
Yeah, I was one.
People just like, I just slept. I just had to sleep. And so the country people didn't know how tired they were, how unhealthy we were. And not just healthy,
right, how ill they were. Yep.
Listen,
or how unhappy they were.
Maybe
I don't want to go back to that job. Maybe I want to go back to school. Maybe I want to spend more time with my children. Mm-hmm. Maybe, so there was a lot of revelations, and I just always look for the silver lining. And to me, there were many, many silver linings.
Yeah. So self-care is on the rise. Everybody's talking about, self-love and self-care and rest and going, people are bicycling again and skateboarding again and skating, not ice skating, roller skating again. Going to the water again, writing poetry. I know some people that are just doing all the self-care things now, and they're like, I got to go back to that. I didn't realize how tapped out I was. I didn't realize
how many businesses started. How many women are selling jewelry and self-care and incense and candles and dresses. I mean, I've been buying things online from small business women. Like, these women are rocking it. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So that is a trend I do hope will maintain is the self-care and doing things that people love and enjoy, and that we don't go back to the rat race cycle. Like, and there's always going to be a community of people a remnant that will be in the rat race. But I really do hope, by and large, especially, God's people, that we really do maintain that trend around caring for self and caring for others, because that'll go a long way. That'll help us be a better people.
Well, thank you. This
has been great.
Listen, I knew you had so much I wanted to say. I knew it.
This is my wheelhouse.
Yes.
So thank you
so much. You speak so much truth, so much power. Oh my gosh, you just blessed us in so many ways. And the blenders, look at speaking the truth. So, thank you so much, all the blenders, for staying with us. Thank you very much for
next week. We'll be next week, next Thursday.
Live again.
Share, like, subscribe. Okay, to Affirmed TV on YouTube. Please share this, because this information is too powerful to sit in your inbox or Facebook one, whatever it is. Share it, okay? So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Blenders, for joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jewel. Thank you, Dr. Karen.
Thank you.
Let's
All right, I'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Time for the Women Talk.